everyone. This is Michael Chan with Heritage Media Network. Special guest today, Nicole Burke. Hey, Nicole, tell us a little bit about yourself, and especially about your company.
I own Burke Designs, and I specialize in home staging and home design. But today we're going to be talking about the home staging aspect.
Side. And you really, you live this out, because I've seen the inside of your house, and it's like beautifully designed. and so you kind of, not on the staging end, but you do everything from kind of small items that complement the decoration in a room, all the way up to designing entire interiors.
Right.
That's really remarkable. And so when I learned that Nicole was doing this kind of stuff, I thought there's probably a really great opportunity for partnership here, because of course on the Heritage Media Network side, we do the pictures and the listings and the videos. On your end, you do the staging. And so I thought, why don't we do this little tutorial that might help people kind of know what to do when they're getting ready to sell their home. So you came with a little list of things that, so give us your list. So what do people need to do to get their home ready?
Well, the biggest thing is...
You can totally look at your iPhone. It's cool. You don't have to pretend like you're not, like you memorized it.
The biggest thing really is decluttering and cleaning. When you walk into a home, I mean, if you just visualize it for your own self, if you walk into a home and it's messy, there's stuff all over the place, there's
like my office that we're in right now, like the studio we're in right now.
There's little knickknacks all over the place. Your eyes tend to focus on all of that busyness as opposed to the beautifulness of the house. So if you were to just go through, maybe pre-pack a little bit, get some things off the wall, get some things off the shelves, dust, vacuum.
That's a big deal.
Maybe even pack up some furniture and put that in storage. Really, the more that you can showcase your space and make it seem like that space is a bigger space, then the better.
And you know, I've often found that there's some people that they may not have tons of storage space. So maybe what they'll do is like the marquee rooms, like the living room, the master, the kitchen, they'll make sure those are totally cleaned out. And then they'll find another room that maybe isn't as important, like maybe a secondary bedroom, and they'll, in a very organized way, put the stuff in there.
Good idea.
It just, because really the rooms I think that sell houses are those three marquee rooms. And so, do you think that's pretty good? If you can't put it in storage or something like that.
Right.
Okay, so that's good. What was the second?
If you really, the design of a home when you stage is your own home also. So you also don't want to lose your own self when you're listing a house. You just want to make sure that you have the clean house when you walk in, and that it's ready for pictures. One thing to really try to remember though too is that when you do have someone come over and take pictures, the pictures definitely come out different than when you're physically at the house. So maybe just try to keep that in mind of, I don't know if you allow people to be there when you take pictures.
Yeah, it depends. Sometimes they're there, sometimes they aren't.
Sometimes I know if it's not, ideal to declutter your kitchen when you're currently, have a bake sale tomorrow or something. You could be there while Michael's taking the pictures and clear things out for him to take the picture, and then you can put it back if you really need that necessity thing.
So here's a question, Nicole. I think a lot of people will sort of get like get stuff organized, get stuff clean. Is there anything that could actually go a step above that to beautify the house?
Oh, yes.
That's like simple, not expensive. What do you think?
That's the part that I get to have fun.
Right?
For me personally, when I stage a home, I like to pick a color and one color. And I like to have that color throughout the house so that it's not overwhelming, and it just ties everything in, and it makes the home feel like a home, not like you're either walking into a vacant home and there's nothing there, or not like you're walking into a home that is very hodgepodgey and your eyes don't really know what to focus on first. So if you kind of just make it very simple throughout your home, and the colors kind of tie in and the design kind of ties in, then the prospective buyer who's actually walking through your home can more focus on the home and not what's on the walls or on the bed or whatever.
That's a brilliant insight. And so you might walk into a home and say, okay, what's a color that I could use, that I could maybe put place in each room that would provide this kind of unifying thread.
Right.
So could you do that with things like flowers, candles?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those are all relatively inexpensive, right?
Yep. Spray paint is my best friend.
You go around people's houses and
I like to repurpose a lot of things. So obviously, if the homeowner is willing, I would reuse most of the stuff that they already have. I would just spray paint it to make everything match throughout the house. That's my secret.
Wow, that's fascinating. The repurposing part.
Yeah. Another thing that you would want to keep in mind when you're taking up the time I know decluttering, cleaning, all that stuff takes time, but you are trying to sell an investment essentially. So the more time that you put into this, potentially the more money you will get out of this. So just keep that in mind. I know that I'm actually currently moving myself, and it is a struggle. I understand that. But the more time and the more energy you put in to prep your house to be listed and for the pictures to be taken, the more walkthroughs you're going to get, the more activity you're going to get online, the more chances you're going to have for people to want to come and see your house, and hopefully, ultimately, the end result is that you sell quicker and you get more money for your house.
Yeah, and I think I think that's exactly right, because really when you're selling houses, in most cases it's not about facts. Actually,
right.
It's about these kind of stories that people tell themselves about, I want to live in such and such a kind of house. And I feel like part of our role as marketers within the real estate world is that we have to think about, like, what are the kinds of stories for people in this kind of housing bracket? What stories are they telling themselves, and how can I do photography and staging in a way that encourages them to say, like, that's the kind of place that I could live in. Right. And I think the staging does that, can do that, the photography can do that. And we know, I mean, the research has been done on this, that like the digital photography, professional photography complemented by staging has a measurable impact on price.
Absolutely. I mean, if you just look at listings anywhere, you can tell who has taken the time to pre-think, not even staging and just decluttering, being clean. Like, if you see a listing, like I recently just saw one, there was a picture taken of a bathroom, and the bathroom just had bottles and makeup, and it just looked like not put together. And I don't know how everybody does, but for me being me, I focus on the mess and not the actual, was there a double sink? I couldn't even tell you, because I don't even remember. All I looked at was the stuff on the counter. So that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about, is declutter, clean, and the design is fairly the easy part, because you could just reuse the stuff that you already have and just try to be cohesive throughout the house and visualize yourself as someone who's walking into the home and being and if you obviously you've lived there, so you know what you appreciate of that home, so highlight that part of the house.
And one of the advantages of hiring someone like Nicole to come and do design work or consultation work in this is that when we live in our own house or in our own mess, we don't see its problems, or it's easier to overlook them. And so Nicole can come in and say, hey, this I think could potentially be a problem. I know you need the couch there because of sort of the patterns of life, but maybe we can adjust it for the next 2 weeks while people are coming to see it, and it'll probably make the room look larger. Right. Or maybe we can put some flowers over here that'll brighten things up a little bit. Right. And you have this kind of objective eye where maybe you'd never been in the home before. Right. That's real value. Helpful. Yeah. That was your third one, right? Yep. So then, that was all of them that you had? No, I agree with all of those, and I think it's invaluable, that kind of advice, and it's invaluable to have someone like Nicole who can come in and maybe offer advice on how to rearrange current things, maybe bring in new, pieces that could unify the house and just make it really pop, because I think in the current market, the houses that can rise potentially to the top are the ones that leave a remarkable impression. Not just like a good impression, but they are remarkable. And I think that's really what you try to do, right? Is make a house as remarkable as it can be.
And bring to focus the highlights of the house. Like if you have a beautiful fireplace, we'd absolutely want to bring that to focus and make it a focal point. Kind of those little things that help draw the buyer's eyes to those great things.
And let's just be clear, it's not about like hiding. Like if your house is a problem, you should never try to hide that. Like you need to disclose it and all that stuff. And in the photography, we don't do like crazy Photoshop work to hide faults of the house. We show the house as it is. What we're talking about is exactly what you said. Like, what are the strong points of the house, and how do you then accentuate those through things like staging or photography? Now, there's one other thing. Sometimes we come across empty houses,
right?
You know, where it's vacant, nobody's living there, and so it's like cavernous. Actually, it's almost too open, right?
Yeah.
And we've come across situations where it's been beneficial, where we're not able to physically stage anything because maybe there's no furniture in there, there's nothing in there, but where Nicole, through some really interesting programs, can digitally stage it.
Right.
So talk to us about digital staging.
So how the digital staging works is Michael takes a picture of an empty room, an empty space. Usually it's one of the, what did you refer to it, the kitchen?
Yeah, those marquee rooms.
Marquee.
The
It's usually a marquee room, and he takes the picture of the vacant room, and I will take that photo and I will digitally add a dining table or digitally add a place setting on the dining table, a centerpiece. So it just makes it look homey, and it makes it look like it gives a sense of dimension to the vacant space, so you can see what size table would fit in that space. And it just helps you visualize how big the space is on a picture.
Yeah, and you have a lot of creative control over the kind of furniture that you put in there, right? Like you can do all that kind of color coordination.
Sky's the limit.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
Yeah, no, it's totally exciting because you can do it, and then you don't have to move the furniture.
Right. And I can buy the most or make it look like it's a really super expensive, luxurious setup, and it's just digital.
Right. But then I think it's about helping people imagine, I could live in a place like that. And so you put in this kind of furniture that really complements the space. And I think it again just helps people in that storytelling, imagining process where they're like, can I live here? Can I not live here? Wow, I could live here if I could make it look like that.
True. Yeah.
So.
And then they hire me to decorate.
And then,
right?
and speaking of hiring you, so talk to us. Let's just conclude now and say, how could people, if they wanted to get in touch with you, how could they do that?
I have a website. My company name is Burke Designs & Co. My website is burkedesignsandco.com. You can find me on Facebook. You can get to my website from my Facebook page. Just shoot me a private message, and we can talk and see what we can do.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Nicole, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Awesome advice. And get some digital staging done or some real staging done is definitely going to make that house look remarkable. So thanks, everybody.